If you are waking up 2, 3, or 4 times a night to urinate, you have been told a dangerous half-truth. You believe your bladder is simply getting old and weak. You blame the water you drank with dinner. You blame your prostate. You endure that groggy, exhausted walk to the bathroom at 3 in the morning, feeling like broken glass is sitting behind your eyes. But nighttime urination is not a plumbing problem. It is a signaling problem. Your bladder is not the villain. It is the victim of a hormonal command. Dr. Megan Foster spent over 20 years in clinical and surgical practice. She watched thousands of patients suffer from fragmented sleep. She noticed a pattern that traditional medical textbooks largely ignored. She stopped treating the bladder. She started treating the dinner plate. And the symptoms vanished. Because there is a specific chemical command your brain sends to your kidneys at sunset. It is an invisible signal that tells your internal filtration system to stop working and hold fluid for the night. If this command is blocked, you will never sleep through the night. The average adult suffering from nocturia wakes up exactly 3.4 times a night. Read that number again. 3.4 interruptions of the deep sleep architecture required to repair your DNA. Your doctor tells you to drink less water before bed. You restrict your fluids. You go to bed thirsty. And you still wake up at 2 in the morning. This fails because the problem is not the volume of water entering your body. The problem is your kidney's absolute inability to hold any water at all. You have blamed the water. You have blamed the prostate. But the real culprit is a chemical signal circulating in your blood right now. That culprit is hyperinsulinemia. The evening insulin spike. Consider your kidneys as industrial filtration pumps. They run all day, filtering toxins and balancing electrolytes. At night, they require a hydraulic lockdown valve to engage. This valve stops the pumps. It seals the system so the factory can shut down for maintenance. Insulin jams this valve open. Elevated insulin in your bloodstream is the override code that forces the pumps to keep running at maximum capacity. The factory should be resting, but the machinery is still grinding. Floodwaters rise. The dam will not close. Your bladder acts as the emergency overflow drain. Let us look closer at the machinery. When your insulin is high before bed, it commands the renal tubules in your kidneys to aggressively reabsorb sodium. It pulls salt back into your blood. Where sodium goes, water follows. Your blood volume expands. The hydraulic pressure in your vessels builds. Your kidneys are forced to filter this excess pressure. They dump the fluid into your bladder. Does your doctor check your fasting insulin when you complain about waking up to urinate? Probably not. They check your prostate. They prescribe medication to relax your bladder muscles. Dr. Foster saw this identical mechanism in hundreds of patients. Treating the bladder or the prostate for nocturia is like changing the tires when the engine is actively overheating. You might have an enlarged prostate. Benign prostatic hyperplasia is a physical reality. But the elevated insulin is the multiplier. It takes a minor structural friction and turns it into a sleep-destroying crisis. It forces an already compromised pipe to handle a flood it was never designed to carry. You do not need medication to fix this hydraulic override. You need a clock. Knowing the enemy is half the battle. Defeating it requires a specific protocol that costs $0 but requires strict discipline. Here is the blueprint. The solution is the 3-hour pre-sleep fasting window. You must consume absolute 0 calories for 180 to 240 minutes before your eyes shut. This allows your circulating insulin levels to drop to their absolute baseline. The chemical override is lifted. The pressure drops. The hydraulic lockdown valve engages. The antidiuretic hormone finally reaches your kidneys without interference. The pumps power down. If you plan to sleep at 10 in the evening, you stop eating by 6:30. You taper your fluids 2 hours before bed, but you do not dehydrate yourself. The combination rule for this window is absolute. Even a handful of grapes, a single cracker, or a sip of sweetened tea resets the entire insulin clock. The pumps turn violently back on. This is not just about your sleep. Sleep fragmentation drives systemic failure. When you wake up 4 times a night, your sympathetic nervous system fires. Cortisol surges. It is an internal alarm that never stops ringing. Your heart rate never drops into its restorative rhythm. This sleep deprivation breeds severe insulin resistance the next morning. You wake up exhausted. Your brain demands immediate energy. You crave dense carbohydrates. You eat them. Your insulin spikes again. You are building the perfect biological architecture for congestive heart failure. You must pair the fasting window with the sunset meal composition. Your final meal dictates the amplitude of your insulin spike. It must be low in carbohydrates and high in healthy fats and moderate protein. Near zero starch. If you eat a massive carbohydrate load at 7 in the evening, your insulin will not reach baseline by 10. It will take 5 hours. You must avoid the specific items that masquerade as healthy bedtime habits. The worst offender is the healthy fruit snack. An apple or a bowl of berries before bed. Fructose is sharp. It forces your liver into active processing mode. It acts as high-octane fuel for an engine you are desperately trying to cool down. In many cultures, the late-night bowl of rice, the midnight noodles, or the sweet tropical fruits are cultural staples. They are also dense carbohydrate bombs. They spike your blood glucose. They summon the insulin. They jam the valve. Late-night tea with milk or sugar performs the exact same sabotage. Listen closely. This next rule is the difference between success and failure. When you begin this 3-hour fasting window, your stomach will growl at 8 in the evening. You will feel a hollow ache. That is not starvation. That is the physical sensation of your metabolic engine shifting gears. That is the sound of your insulin dropping. You must hold the line. The cravings you feel are just the ghosts of your previous insulin spikes. They are chemical echoes. They fade in 3 days. Once you clear the residual sludge from your receptors, the evening hunger vanishes. The kidneys receive the signal. The bladder remains empty. Once you fix the night, you must repair the damage done to the day. Imagine closing your eyes at 10 in the evening. You do not stir. You do not wake up to a cold floor. You open your eyes to sunlight at 7 in the morning. Unbroken silence. Total cellular repair. Remember that groggy, exhausted walk to the bathroom at 3 in the morning. It becomes a distant, faded memory. The heavy fog behind your eyes lifts. Your body is a magnificent, self-cleaning machine. It is designed to heal. It knows exactly how to repair broken DNA and flush cellular waste. But it cannot execute the self-cleaning protocol if it is busy digesting food and filtering hydraulic pressure at midnight. You control the valve. You control the signal. The machinery is waiting for your command. Fix the night. Then, fix the morning. In the next protocol, we dismantle the one breakfast food that reverses everything you just learned. It sits in 90% of kitchens. It is driving your morning insulin resistance.